Hello, my country people them. Today, na Saturday, 20th of July, 2024. We don't come live again. As una join, una know the usual routine. Una share, make it go far and wide, my country people them. Una share as una join. I want to apologize, say I come about 4 or 5 minutes later than planned. So now because I will get one or two things where the do but make sure say I bring una information will be relevant, be current, and when I first see the topic of discussion there on the screen. So we'll go play for una some video for Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, and then we'll go do some analysis and ask una this question: was he dishonest or just ignorant? So as una join, una know what to do, una share my contribute them. Una share as una join. We'll play our anthem, and then we'll play Cameroonianness, and then we'll crack on from there.
Hail, hail, hail the Kumkumasa. We the Cameroonians, we pledge our loyalty. Kumkumasa, Kumkumasa, you shall free our country from terror. And your blessing shall be like the stars above. The Most High God shall be your guide.
So thank una plenty. As una join, una know the usual routine. Una share as una join my contribute them. I go bring for una the video where we queue them up. Now bear with me 1 second and then mash fire. So now wait 1 second. I will add the video.
When you look at the situation,
okay, my contribute them. So when I listen to this and then the analysis and everything else, and then when I answer the question, when I leave a comment in the comment section, whether it be dishonest or it just be ignorant, when I listen.
when you look at the situation, Southern Cameroons had a constitution. The Republic of Cameroon had a constitution. This is the constitution of the Republic of Cameroon. Constitution of 4th March 1960. This is their constitution. And this is the one of Southern Cameroon. But when you look at the historical facts I'm putting, they downplay the Southern Cameroon constitution and make as if it was nothing. It was a inexistent document. This constitution was enacted by the British institutions, the Queen of England, the highest authority. No Englishman has ever challenged it.
You see, I'm not arguing on that. I'm not arguing.
Let him let
because he gives the impression that I'm arguing. What I'm saying is this.
You are just stating the point.
Yeah, this is what Southern Cameroon, the delegation should have presented.
Britain was that, can you modify this constitution after the talks? This constitution of 4th of March 1960.
When the constitution was enacted and presented, my problem is where were the Southern Cameroonian politicians?
He just told you that most of them were not even aware of that constitution. He just told you because Foncha took it and hid it. Most of them were not even aware.
Yeah, but I just read the commissioner who says that the guys, he's suggesting that they should engage what you call it exchange of notes,
Yeah.
and that they should go and discuss it. And he says that Motombi Wolita raised a question.
Okay, I want to agree with all that. I am saying that
Okay.
in the presence of this constitution, we have a state with full powers, with parliament, with government, with civil service, with judiciary, with everything. You cannot, in the presence of this, rely on exchange of notes. You cannot.
My country people then, when I don't hear wait where Barrister Ashu Emmanuel just come off for talk. Now literally the most intellectually dishonest thing where I don't ever hear some person where he call itself say he be an intellectual, he talk him. This man call himself say be barrister, lawyer, where he don't know ye the significance of exchange of notes, an international agreement between two sovereign states. He compare them with a so-called constitution of a territory that was administered by a different country. Remember, say the so-called constitution of the former British Southern Cameroons, it be admitted and adopted and signed, but in London by the British, because the former British Southern Cameroons, it no be get the sovereignty, it no be get the authority, the supreme power for govern itself. Literally, Article 4 of the United Nations General Assembly, their trusteeship agreement with the United Kingdom, it talk for day. Say the UK, it get all the sovereign power for administer that territory, whether na legislative, judiciary, and everything else, even for provide security. Now, why that way? The former British Southern Cameroons, it no be fit get an army, because the United Kingdom, it be get responsibility for protect that territory, because it be been a territory under the British, not a sovereign state. There is a difference between a state and a sovereign state. Sovereign states, they get heads of state. If you call yourself British Southern Cameroon, say when I be been a state, if you tell we who be your head of state, if you tell we can you print money, you get army, because if you make laws, you're supposed to defend that law with an army. But the British Southern Cameroons, it never ever exercise sovereignty. Remember that. So, person they want for compare exchange of notes when an international treaty it be signed by the British ambassador for Yaoundé and President Amadou Ahidjo. International treaty. This man we call himself a lawyer. They can't talk say exchange of notes it no be as important. Make we forget them. International treaty. Can you imagine? See how Anglophones they do intellectual gymnastics for try for fit a narrative where no hold. It desperately try for make it look like say Southern Cameroon to be being a state for try for sort of like boost the ego. And now this kind level of deliberate manipulation it bring we Ambazonia terrorism. And now why that we are be so animated? Now why that we are to make this presentation? Because it not just be for nothing. People the way they go listen to this kind of a charlatan, and then they go carry chaka from carry guns, they go to kill people then. Start to target the educated. Start to target people like myself, target people like Professor Julius, target people then like Cardinal Tumi, the fun of so target people like Dr. Simon Munzu. Because they listen to this kind of people the way they know the truth. I like for believe say it be educated enough for know the truth, which means it is lie. I don't know which one be worse. If it be woefully ignorant, or it be wicked enough for know the truth and then come up publicly can lie. I don't know which one be worse. But either way, this kind level of I don't even know how to call them. The whole thing, it don't just shock me. Knowing that the first time I don't hear you talking, but now say I don't just revisit this particular issue. It come to the point where I be decide now for find Professor Julius Ngoh his telephone number for call you for get a conversation, because I needed to put this to rest. And now why that way I want to put this information out there. I could do another presentation another time where I could bring to Una the actual trusteeship agreement. When I remember, say most of these people, the way they call themselves lawyers, barristers, this and that. So once they don't form so-called internet government for so-called Ambazonia, Facebook country, where they talk about there was no union treaty, all of that nonsense. Trust me, these people, they don't even know the beginning of the history of the former British Southern Cameroons. Now me, I be present to them for the very first time the actual exchange of notes where it be signed between the British government and the Cameroon government for Yaoundé international agreement. For the first time, many of them see when me I be bring them that information. It take me less than 20 minutes for Google the information. The information they out there. It's available for any person. Any person. If you get internet connection, you feel go download the exchange of notes, read them for yourself. When we talk about resolution 1608, it's available online. The United Nations Digital Archive, it get the resolutions then for day. Download them, read them for yourself. The trusteeship agreement, it there for day. The letters, the way Ngoh Foncha, Endele, President Amadou Ahidjo, they will write them to the United Nations back and forth. They are archived online. If you want to know the truth, it's available. For the very first time, many Anglophones, many Cameroonians, they will see the actual agreement where the British, they signed with President Amadou Ahidjo for hand over that territory to Cameroon. That agreement, the exchange of notes, now ye terminate the trusteeship agreement. The former British Southern Cameroon did not exist except for the fact say na a trust territory. And how they terminate that trust territory or trusteeship agreement? It was by the exchange of notes. That's how the trusteeship agreement was terminated. How then can you be an intellectual and you be honest and you can't talk say no, we no need for consider the exchange of notes because the British they be sign a so-called constitution. When I listen, Enugu na a state inside Nigeria. Cross Rivers na a state inside Nigeria. Akwa Ibom na a state inside Nigeria. But do they have seats at the United Nations? No. Any two people, the way they form an organization. For example, Ntarikon Credit Union, they get constitution. Does that mean Ntarikon Credit Union is a sovereign state that has a head of state, an army, and should be admitted in the United Nations? No. Because they get constitution. So what? Do they have the sovereign power to govern themselves, to print money, to have an army, to engage in international relations and international diplomatic relations with other countries, to come up with a travel document like a passport that would be respected internationally? Do they have that power? Just because you have a constitution does not make you a sovereign state. And they use this word state for confuse una. Like I talk, California na a federated state within the United States of America. The USA again now 50 states inside one country. Does that mean California get flag, it get anthem, it get a governor, they elect their own legislation. So they get a Senate, they get their own House of Representatives for the state of California. They make their own laws for the state of California. But does that mean California is a country? Does it make it a sovereign state? No. It's just a federated state without any international powers. It no fit enter into international treaties. It no get its own army. It no fit print its own money because now just part of the United States of America. So the former Southern Cameroons, it was a territory that was administered by the British. It can have a government just like how the Ntarikon Credit Union fit form its own government. You get a chief executive officer. You can call it anything. Okay, take for example this Ambazonia people, the way they create the Njangi house now. How many government they get them? Sako get their own government. Marianta get government. Chris Anu get government. Yerima them for that side too, they get government with Sisiko Ayuktabe. Does that mean there are 4 countries? No, let us be realistic. Let us think. So just because you say you get government or you get constitution, so what? What powers do you have? Who first signed the constitution? That's the first thing. When you look at the constitution of Cameroon, it will be adopted by the Parliament of the Republic of Cameroon and it will be signed into law by the President of the Republic of Cameroon because that country is a sovereign state. But when you look at wait away, Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, it show am for una for screen day, na a constitution where the authority It not even come from the people of the former Southern Cameroons. That constitution, it will be signed by people them inside London. They will debate them now for parliament for London. And then sign them for administer that territory, because that territory will be now under the British. So they never get the powers for do anything. Yes, they get constitution, but so what? What powers do you have within that constitution when the trusteeship agreement still stands? And the trusteeship agreement, it be clear, it be written in black and white. The United Kingdom, it get the sovereign power for get a legislature, for do military and every other control over that territory. It belongs to the United Kingdom. My country people them. Make I take this opportunity for educate Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. If you no be understand, make it understand today. The act of the exchange of notes, it terminate the trusteeship agreement, thereby making that so-called constitution null and void. That so-called constitution where Ashu Emmanuel it hold them for his hand, it will be signed by the British Parliament in London. It will be adopted in London. And the authority where the British they will get them for administer that territory comes from the trusteeship agreement with the United Nations. At the time where the British they signed the exchange of notes with President Ahmadou Ahidjo on the 1st of October 1961, they terminate the trusteeship agreement. They terminate the authority where the British they will get them for administer that territory. And by so doing, the action of the exchange of notes terminating the trusteeship agreement make that so-called constitution null and void. I don't know if that one it be too complex for a person like Barrister Ashu Emmanuel for understand them. That piece of paper where they hold on for your hand, it became useless as toilet tissue from the 1st of October 1961, when the trusteeship agreement it will be terminated by the exchange of notes by that international agreement between the Republic of Cameroon. And another point we want to need for understand, toilet tissue from the 1st of October 1961, when the trusteeship agreement it will be terminated by the exchange of notes by that international agreement between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Cameroon. And another point we want to need for understand, now say there is no such thing on international stage known as British Southern Cameroons. The legal document when the trusteeship agreement it be signed for a territory known as British Cameroons or the Cameroons under British administration. This includes the former British Northern Cameroon. So the so-called Southern Cameroons as an entity on its own does not exist. The territory under the trusteeship agreement it be known as the Cameroons under British administration. So if Barrister Ashu Emmanuel want for claim said they will get a constitution where it means that they will be a state, so what does that make the former Northern Cameroons? Are you also claiming that they were also a state? Because you know if you separate the two, the British they will get now one agreement with the United Nations for administer British Cameroons, which includes Southern and Northern Cameroons. So if you claim, say the former British Northern Cameroons or the former British Southern Cameroons, it being a state, then what was the Northern Cameroons? Were they also a state? We now need to understand these things then, because even at the time when the Northern Cameroons, they don't get the plebiscite and they don't decide they want to join Nigeria, they will be ready for join Nigeria any minute. But because of the infighting inside the Southern Cameroons, and they will fight Foncha, they don't make up their mind waiting for do. One side be one for join Nigeria, the other side be one for join Cameroon. So that's why they will come out with that plebiscite. And now, the British Southern Cameroons, they will ask the United Nations for continue the trusteeship agreement longer. But it not be possible because the Southern Cameroons, it wasn't an entity on its own. They were joined with the Northern Cameroons for form the trusteeship agreement when the British Cameroons or the Cameroons under British administration. So now why that way? The United Nations BCM say if the Northern Cameroons get for join Nigeria and then wait another date for the British Southern Cameroons for join Cameroon, it means now say they get to first terminate the trusteeship agreement first and then redraft another agreement just for the Southern Cameroons. And that was not, it was too cumbersome a task to do. So now why that way the British, the United Nations and everyone else involved, if it talks saying no. The Northern Cameroons could join Nigeria by the 1st of June 1961 and by the 1st of October 1961, the Southern Cameroons could join Cameroon so that the trusteeship agreement for the Cameroons under British administration, it could be terminated. They no go terminate one and then redraft another agreement. No. Just because the British Southern Cameroons and their politicians, they will be confused and they will fight amongst themselves. That was not justification enough for continue the trusteeship agreement. Barrister Ashu Emmanuel knows this. He understands this truth and this reality. Say, Southern Cameroons was not an entity. You want to be a government created by what instrument? The only legal instrument where it exists for identify that territory now the trusteeship agreement. And the trusteeship agreement was for the Cameroons under British administration, which includes Northern Cameroon. So you don't have to separate the two because the agreement was for one territory. You could only separate them for administrative purposes, which the British had the latitude to do under the trusteeship agreement. And my next presentation, I will bring una the actual trusteeship agreement, make una examine them for yourselves. So the agreement itself was for the Cameroons under British administration, where it include the Northern and the Southern Cameroons. Now the British, they divide the territory into Northern and Southern Cameroons for administrative purposes. But legally, that entity was one. The Cameroons under British administration. That is the legal title of that entity. And the agreement itself, the trusteeship agreement itself, it will only be dissolved or the agreement, it will be cancelled by the exchange of notes where the British government will be signed up with President Amadou Ahidjo for Yaoundé. I go play for una this conversation where I can't forget them with Professor Julius Ngoh. And I hope say if una get time una fit listen am, but I don't summarize everything for this audio way I make them now. Yes, hello, Professor Julius. Nice to talk to you.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Okay, good evening. It's a pleasure talking to you finally. I've wanted to talk to you for a long time concerning this issue about our history.
Yes. It's so unfortunate that most Cameroonians who make so much noise, they don't know the history of the country.
Yes, I hope you do not mind. Do I have your permission to record this conversation?
Yeah.
Okay, happy days. And just for your consideration as well, I have a baby with me, so he's playing in the background. And I think we're disconnected. If you can hear me, let me know. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I think we were disconnected for a second. Like I was saying, I have a baby playing in the background. So if you hear some noises in the background, just ignore it. He's just playing with his toys and stuff. So the issue of the history of the former British Southern Cameroons keeps coming up, as you've mentioned before, because of the efforts that people make to try and distort the history. The reason I'm calling you is because of an exchange that I heard you with Barrister Ashu Emmanuel on my Media Prime. I don't know when that was recorded, but he was basically trying his hardest to put across the point that Southern Cameroons was a state. I think we're disconnected again. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Okay, so I was talking about Barrister Ashu trying to present some information. He presented the constitution of the former British Southern Cameroons and talking about the resolution 1608, that it said in the resolution 1608 that the government of Southern Cameroon. So based on those two, how can I put it? For him, that was evidence enough to say that Southern Cameroons was a state. And I could tell you were a bit frustrated at his attempt to distort this part of the history. But to be quite honest with you, I don't think you did a good job at explaining to the people where the distortion came from. You know, so when I listened to it, I did not quite get your argument, and because there is evidence to the fact that it wasn't a state, but I did not see you present it.
Well, okay, let me just say it very briefly.
Yes.
Okay. There are 4 conditions to be fulfilled for a territory with people to be called a state. 4 conditions.
Yes.
1, you must have a recognized territory.
Recognized by who? Recognized by the
international community.
Okay.
Secondly, must have a population. Are you there?
I'm there. I'm listening. What?
Yeah. Thirdly, must have a government.
Okay.
And finally, must be able to conduct international relations.
Thank you.
The problem that some Cameroonians fail to understand is that the government of Dr. Emmanuel in Delhi,
yes,
from May 1958
yes,
to January 1959, and the government of John Ngoh from January 1959 to 30th of September
1961. Yes.
Those governments were put in place in fulfillment of Article 5 of the UN Trusteeship
Agreement,
which calls on the United Kingdom
to administer that territory.
Yes, from an administrative point of view, legislative point of view, and all whatnot.
But Professor,
and the governments,
Professor, sorry to interrupt. But you did not make this point. You did not make this point. So that's why he just came there and flashed around some pieces of paper. You know, our people are gullible, and our people haven't got the time and the know-how to listen to details. You know, in a few sentences like you've just explained, it would have been clear, you know, because and another point that he was trying to bamboozle people because our people don't understand is the question of sovereignty.
Yeah, so look, let me finish. So the issue of having a government.
Yes.
That government was put in place by the United Kingdom.
Yes.
Yes. So it was not a government of Saudi Cameroonians running their affairs.
Okay, can I just interrupt, because I want us to have a give and take in this conversation. So when Barrister Ashu was flashing the constitution of Southern Cameroons and whatnot, I was cringing and begging for you to ask him one simple question.
No, the point is this. Maybe you got it. You got it halfway. It was a long, almost 2 hours of the whole issue. 2 hours.
Yes.
So it was not a discussion solely on that. It was for 2 hours. And you see, it was simple. What he played around as the constitution of Southern Cameroons. The constitution was approved by whom?
Exactly.
By the UK government.
That is the point I was hoping for you to make. That you may call it the constitution of Southern Cameroons, but it was authorized by a foreign entity. The Southern Cameroons, as you call it, a state. How can you claim to be a state, but you don't have the powers to enact a constitution? It had to be signed and authorized from abroad.
Yeah, that's the point. Then the third point is the Southern Cameroon government, be it in Delhi or Poncha, had no authority to engage in foreign relations.
Exactly. And you see, this is the point I'm making. Please bear with me, because the thing is, what I have come to understand is that our people are gullible. And I say this with all humility. Our people are gullible. They do not understand complex issues. They want you to tell them what they already believe, what they want to hear. So in order to challenge these perceptions, and some of these falsehoods, as you can see, that are spread around, are from intellectuals. People who come around and with big titles, barrister this, lawyer, teacher. They are the ones spreading these things. So imagine what a layperson who is not educated, imagine what a layperson who is not educated, they will believe them, they will swallow this nonsense. That's why it becomes even more important for people like you and myself to explain it to them at the most basic level.
Yeah, you see, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Honestly, the government is not serious enough. The government doesn't sponsor or finance conferences or debates on such issues. Mm-hmm. You won't believe. I published a recent book. Everybody said that it's good, but for them to buy and read, no.
No one. Well, if you are waiting for Cameroonians to buy and read, if you want to hide a secret to Cameroonians, to Africans in general, put it in a book. Write it down in a book. That's the safest place for a secret.
I explain all of this in the book. I explain this UN resolution 1608. Explain it conveniently. I explain the exchange of notes, and I explain how Poland draws the Tumbe has deceived the young Anglophones by talking of
a union treaty.
Yes.
Oh, you see, the thing is, like we just agreed, our people don't read. They are lazy, intellectually lazy. That is just the truth. It's not insulting to accept reality. And you see, there is this, like I have learned a lot, and I want to thank you for the lessons and the information. I've learned a lot from listening to you and other people. I don't believe in one source only, and I don't believe in just listening to what someone has to say. As a fellow intellectual as well, I do my own research. Do you know that many Cameroonians had never even heard of the word exchange of notes? Many Cameroonians.
I was insulted. I was insulted.
The only thing I can say to you is, Ashu, because I am in a similar situation, I understand. Ashu. You see, for the first time, when I went and it took me less than 10 minutes of doing searches online to go and unearth the exchange of notes that was signed in Yaoundé by Cecil King, the British High Commissioner in Yaoundé at the time. And when I published it, yes, the ambassador in Yaoundé at the time. When I published it, it was a revelation to many Anglophone Cameroonians. Do you know that? Even the so-called Ambazonians, they had never heard of it or seen it.
No, in fact, when I've been mentioning it, they insulted me and they were asking what does it mean? Exchange of notes means what? This and that. I was shocked. Coming from so-called
intellectuals.
People,
exactly.
Yes, asking me exchange of notes means what?
Is that's why our biggest problem starts and ends with laziness and ignorance. We refuse to read. We refuse to learn, and even when someone provides the evidence in front of us, we pretend like we don't see it because we already have a preconceived notion.
It's true. In fact, and Chris, I know, has tried to talk to me twice on whatever, and with his group, some of them have called and threatened me that they are going to deal with me. I try to make them understand that I am not a politician. I am a historian. If you have counterpoints and evidence,
bring it. Bring the points. Let's debate it as intellectuals.
Let us talk.
But then,
don't insult me.
Exactly.
That I'm a francophone. I've been bribed by the government.
Sorry.
On the government payroll.
Professor.
I said,
Professor. It's unfortunate. This is what happens when you're dealing with simpletons. When people haven't got the evidence, or I don't know if when people haven't got the argument to bring to the table, they resort to threats and violence because that is all they know. So and that's why they will never challenge you to it. And that's why, for example, when I brought the exchange of notes, it was a shocking revelation to many of them. And that's why the only thing they could do was say, can you believe people who call themselves barristers living in the United States saying that, as a matter of fact, Britain had no authority to enter into international agreement on behalf of Southern Cameroons.
It's terrible.
It is terrible. And do you know what? One of their argument, can you believe that someone who claims to have gone to school made this argument? He said that in the Fumban Constitutional Conference, he said, why did they ask the British to be there? Why did they not also ask France to be there? I honestly did not know where to start to educate that kind of person, so I just ignored it. Cameroon was a sovereign state. It's a sovereign state with a seat at the United Nations. You guys are still under a trusteeship agreement administered by the British. That is why the administering authority was invited to be there. How else do you explain that to them?
And you see the mistake they always make, you know, that Amadou Ahijo told Francha that the two will discuss as a equal partners.
Okay, when was the question is when was that?
1959,
Thank you.
And in February 1959, French Cameroon was a trust territory. British Southern Cameroon was a trust territory. So at that time,
they could have been equals.
They were equal.
Yes.
And as from 1st January
1960,
when French Cameroon became
independent,
and Southern Cameroon was still a trust territory, they were no longer equal.
Thank you. But then they have difficulty wrapping their tiny brains around that fact. But then again, it's not a matter of tiny brains. It is a matter of belief. You know, it's difficult to make someone change a belief, because this is not a matter of intelligence or a matter of intellectual dishonesty. They don't care about the facts. It's a belief. You see,
it's terrible.
that is where our problem lies.
Understand.
It's occultic.
Yeah, you try to make them understand that, please, for heaven's sake, from 1st January 1960, Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroon were no longer equal. Please.
And then how can someone, and then another thing is, Barrister Ashu Emmanuel tried to make a link or a connection with Canada and the King of England. Please explain to them the difference between Canada as a dominion, of the British realm, but not part of the United Kingdom. Because they're saying that Canada is part of the United Kingdom because the king is head of state of Canada. No, Canada is a sovereign state.
No, yes, and even then, Canada was never given to Britain to be administered by any organization.
Exactly.
Southern Cameroons is different. The UN said the British should administer Southern Cameroons. Made it very clear.
Very clear.
Administer this territory on behalf of the UN.
Calm down. And the funniest thing is, it was not just a verbal agreement. The agreement was signed on paper. It's called the trusteeship agreement.
Yes.
It's there, written in black and white.
No, I'm so happy that you have been able to get in touch with me so that we can exchange ideas.
Yes, and my point is, because in order for us to continue this a thankless job of sensitization and bringing our people to the reality of what is going on in our country, we need to do better with our communication to explain at the very basic level.
Yeah,
For example, in the situation where Barrister Ashu Emmanuel kept saying it was a state, please, for heaven's sake, try to explain to them the difference between Nigeria as a sovereign state and Cross River State as a state. There is a difference. Cross River, or let's take the United States of America, is one country. It's sovereign. And California is a federated state. Yes, California also has its own constitution. Does that mean California is a country? No. So with that simple argument, you would have put some sense into him and make people understand that just the word state does not mean anything, or just the word government. Case in point, the Ambazonians have how many government today? Like 6 or 7, right? You understand? Put that point to them. Satoy Kome has his government. Anyone, if you create the SASE Students Association, will you not have a constitution? Will you not form a government, some way of governing that organization? Does that mean that you deserve a seat at the United Nations? That is,
I don't mind them.
no, we have to mind them. It's unfortunate. I used to be cynical like you back in the days when I was the kind of person that would have said, oh, don't mind these fools. They don't understand what they're saying. They are just making noise. Unfortunately, there is a vast majority of our population that is gullible to the point of carrying guns and going to the bush based on these lies. And to compound on that reality, these gullible, poorly educated youth target the educated like myself. They almost killed me. You understand? They go after people like you. They go after people like the former Cardinal Tumi. He's been kidnapped. Nijon Frundi, the Fononso, Dr. Simon Munzu, the intellectuals in our society, they go after these people based on the kind of stupid, juvenile lies that people like Barrister Ashu Emmanuel spread out there. We were a government. A government that could do what? What powers did the government have? That is the question. Okay, let's accept that you were a government. What powers did you have? Did you have the sovereign power? Did you have an army? Could you enter into international treaties? Could you open an embassy, a foreign mission in a different country? Who recognized you as a state? That's what matters. Could you produce international travel documents that were recognized? Passports? Could you print money? You understand?
Yeah.
That is the difference. If you had put it that way, he himself would have looked stupid. You explained to the audience that yes, the word state is misused and is misconstrued, and people who go to school, the learned and educated, like Barrister Ashu here, is playing on your intelligence. He knows better. He knows that any two people that come together and form association can come up with a constitution. That does not make those two people a country to have international recognition and a seat at the United Nations. The Southern Cameroons was a state, just like how Cross River State is a state within Nigeria. You understand? If you had put that point in 2 minutes, you could have dismantled his argument. Say, I accept that you were a state, but a state with no powers. You can't print money. You don't have an army. Even if you make a law, how do you enforce the law? You had no military to back it up. So you were useless. It's a state that all its powers depended on London. All its powers were held in a different country. Yes, you were a state, but a state with no powers. Call yourself a dog without teeth.
Yeah.
That is to the extent with which you can claim you were a state. Just like Cross River State is a state with a governor, with a constitution, with a flag, with an anthem. Do they have a seat at the United Nations? Can they print money? Who recognizes them outside of Nigeria? Nobody.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Okay, who was your head of state? You call yourself a state. Who was your head of state?
Yeah.
You did not have one because you were not a sovereign state. There's a difference between sovereignty is the supreme power that the people have to control themselves, to govern themselves. But in this case, literally, even that constitution that you're quoting had to be admitted and received and signed, but in London. So what powers did your...
Yes.
Yes, it was signed and approved, but in London. Because you had no supreme power to govern yourself. If you had a supreme power to govern yourself, it did not need to go to London to be approved. But in this case, when you talk of Canada, Canada does not need to send its constitution or their laws to London to be approved. They don't, because they are sovereign. The people, the Canadian people, have the sovereign power to elect their governors, to elect their officials, and their representatives to govern them. That is sovereignty. They have that sovereign power. The King of England has certain powers, but it is limited. The power that the King of England has over Canada is deliberately given to the King of England by the people of Canada. That is sovereignty. But in the case of the former Southern Cameroons, the population had no choice. Which member of the former Southern Cameroons was there when they were signing the Treaty of Versailles in France? Which member of the former British Southern Cameroons was there when the British, the French, and the Germans decided to divide that territory amongst themselves? Which member of the former British Southern Cameroons was there when the United Nations was signing the trusteeship agreement with the UK? It's because we had no sovereignty, we had no powers. We could not determine what happened to our own territory. That is the definition of sovereignty. If you as a people can determine what happens in your own territory, you have the supreme power without the input of anyone else. That is what you call a sovereign state. Failure of anything below that, you are not sovereign. And the people of Canada have that sovereignty. The people of Australia have that sovereignty. The people of the former British Southern Cameroons could not even cough without the authorization from London.
Yeah.
Well, Prof, thank you so much for.
Thanks a lot, and keep in touch.
Yeah, of course. We'll keep in touch. You have my number and I have yours. Let me pay attention to to this little person who's yes. Okay. No. Okay, we'll talk later. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, thanks. So thank you plenty my contribute for them. We don't come to the end of the live broadcast. Una bear with me a second. So we go look at some of una questions them and some of your comments them. For see which way una the talk for the comment section. Thank you plenty. We get Badman Bass they here with me. If una fit hear me, una leave a comment section because I don't know if. Okay, yes, I will confirm and say the audio be clear. So una share as una join as usual. We'll get this comment from Teguia Konam. What a name. He is one of the self-righteous and confident ignoramuses who inspired the hordes of illiterates because the canon fathers of an illusionary quest for independence. There you go. We'll get Meme Central, a comment from YouTube. It talks and some of these old pardon for America know very well, say Professor Julius, it did talk not the truth, but they go still carry their stupidity, it come they argue. And Meme Central again talks this particular barrister and a big time two-side class. Anytime I watch it, I feel so sick in my stomach. That is why that his so-called political party is dead on arrival. Okay, una leave a comment in the comment section. If una get any questions, una want to ask them. I'll go answer on our questions in a second. So the next comment it comes from Ngoh Debo. It talks about Barrister Emmanuel Ashu is not only dishonest or dishonestly ignorant, he is a barrister who is learned to have avoided being ignorant about the history of this British Southern Cameroons. He is dishonest by knowing the stakes but refusing to make adequate research for simple reasons of his lack of crooked wisdom. Barrister Emmanuel Ashu should cease from disgracing himself by pretending to have a mastery of the history of the British Southern Cameroons. He lacks. He should look for time to either see MKBD or no continue or he continue and officium. So we'll get other comments. In some flex, it talks he is very dishonest man. That is why he needs to use intimidation tactics, shouting everywhere. That's it. Some people who shout are people who are usually clueless and they're trying to impose their viewpoint by speaking louder than everyone else. We'll get Ngoh Elvis chair. It talks he's a very dishonest man. I agree. And I don't know which is worse, the dishonesty or ignorance. Because for being ignorant, it's possibly worse. But then again, for being dishonest means that you know the truth and then you go out there, go deliberately lie. And that lie, it costs people their death. Actually, I think the dishonesty, it'd be worse than ignorance. Because an ignorant person, once you show you the truth, they go see the truth, it go recognize the truth, and it go agree with the truth, and then it go stop for the spread the lies. But a dishonest person, he know the truth, and then he go out there for go spread the lies anyway. So I think the dishonesty be worse. We'll get Boris Jones Tembago talks. I wonder why he's always called Senior Barrister Ashu. Listen, now a Cameroonian thing. There is no such position called Senior Barrister or a rank called Senior Barrister. Now, just that Cameroonian thing with people, they love titles. Person will be not just administrator for WhatsApp group. All man for that WhatsApp group. Can you meet up in for different Jangi house or for market? You start calling admin. Any person make some teacher just making a senior divisional, senior discipline master, they call them for some primary school or whatever, or some secondary school or whatever. All man for the whole world now go call, you go know say this guy na DM or discipline master. They go start calling. Cameroonians love titles, regardless how empty the titles they be. Now something we really need to do something about. It's a cultural issue. They love titles. Now why that one understand? Even these Anglophone people, they don't go create these internet governments and say IG or whatever nonsense. Empty titles. But go try to take one of the titles for them. Say they go kill you. This one will call itself president, secretary of this, the deputy defense chief, commander-in-chief. The Cameroonians love titles. No matter how empty and stupid and useless the title be, they love it. Now, whether you see some people, they go do PhD just because they want me to call them that thing, say doctor. Ask you, say, how does that doctor thing or the title, how does it improve your quality of life? It doesn't. But I just say, A1, because of that empty title, it go get a position in society. It like when they call it that title because it go distinguish you from other people, or it go get some level of extra prestige or respect, I guess. You know, respect where you know earn them, you know deserve them. You just want empty titles. You just want me to call you someone them that imagine say some person, for example, you will get a first degree in engineering. Oh man, go start calling Nana engineer Agbo, engineer Peter. What does that even mean? You understand? So if you get first degree in engineering, what does that mean? The only time any person care about that first degree now when you apply for a job, you put it in your curriculum vitae. They could know say, okay, now your level of qualification this. What does it mean to work? So you be mechanic, you all man work they don't say now mechanic Ashu that now mechanic James. Empty, useless titles. So we'll get a panty Valentine. It talks that he is so dishonest to speak the truth. Remember, this same man asked Sako Group to give him 5 billion to be a lawyer for Ayuk Tabe, but I don't know if that is true or not. I have no idea what you're saying, whether it's true, whether he wanted to be their lawyers or whatnot. That is we'll get Congo Vitalis. It talks Ashu Emmanuel, the one supporter of Amba, is dishonest and evil man. He is one of those like Agbobala who contributed to escalate the killings of civilians and security forces in the southwest and the northwest region. But thank you plenty for opinions. Then might see if some people want leave other comments. Then we'll get now 1 second. Might see some comments. In Sobu Service them. It talks I don't let you take we'll get I just read now some comments. I mean all comments I want to put them on the screen for now. Okay, we'll get this particular comment. Thomas Ekali. It talks thank you for bringing Professor Ngoh to your show. His analysis of Southern Cameroon's politics and has always been to the point. He's a historian. He just presents history. You know, the politician is not just about his opinions or analysis. It's just what the history is, things that have happened. And then we try to understand why they happened the way they happened. That's it. So we'll get another comment. We'll get Ade Anthony Fumi. It talks that's a Bayangi man for you. They thrive from end. That's a Bayangi man for you. They thrive on empty pride. Okay. Tampon plenty. All man, we don't join for this live broadcast. We don't make them. It don't be now almost 1 hour. I try for make it not be more than 1 hour. So from now when they come late, make I play from the video where they make them, where it talk about the former British Southern Cameroons, where it bring me out for come make this presentation today. When I listen for 1 minute, just 1 or 2 minutes of the life of where you talk, and then we will play our Kumkum anthem, just for bring home the point. When I listen,
when you look at the situation, Southern Cameroons had a constitution. The Republic of Cameroon had a constitution. This is the Constitution of the Republic of Cameroon. Constitution of 4th March 1960. This is their constitution. And this is the one of Southern Cameroon. But when you look at the historical facts they're putting, they downplay the Southern Cameroon constitution and make as if it was nothing. It was a inexistent document. This constitution was enacted by the British institutions, the Queen of England, the highest authority. No Englishman has ever challenged it.
You see, I'm not arguing on that. I'm not arguing.
Let him let
because he gives the impression that I'm arguing. What I'm saying is this.
You are just stating the point.
Yeah, this is what Southern Cameroon, the delegation should have presented.
Britain was that, can you modify this constitution after the talks? This constitution of 4th of March 1960.
When the constitution was enacted and presented, my problem is where were the Southern Cameroonian politicians?
He just told you that most of them were not even aware of that constitution. He just told you because Foncha took it and hid it. Most of them were not even aware.
Yeah, but I just read the commissioner who says that the guys he's suggesting that they should engage what you call it exchange of notes, and that they should go and discuss it. And he says that Motombi Wolita raised a question.
Okay, I want to agree with all that. I am saying that in the presence of this constitution, we have a state with full powers, with parliament, with government, with civil service, with judiciary, with everything. You cannot, in the presence of this, rely on exchange of notes. You cannot.
Okay, my contributor. So when I don't hear wait Barrister Ashu Emmanuel come off for talk, and that is the dishonest or ignorant part of it, because first of all, as they talk, the so-called constitution of Southern Cameroons was adopted in London by a foreign entity, the colonial powers. Whereas the Constitution of the Republic of Cameroon was adopted by the parliament in Cameroon, signed into law by the president, the head of state of the Republic of Cameroon. See, head of state of Cameroon, sign them. So why did you, who call yourself a state, not also have your own constitution signed by your own head of state? Who was your head of state if you claimed that you had a state? It's because you were not a state. You were not sovereign. Everything had to come from London because you were a colonized people. Simple as that. I don't know how difficult that one be for you to understand them. And also by the virtue of the fact, say this territory being a trust territory, it being a trusteeship agreement between the United Nations and the United Kingdom for the administration of the Cameroons under British administration. The Cameroons, including the Northern Cameroon and the British Southern Cameroon. Okay. So if you claim, say, that territory being a state, so what about Northern Cameroons? Were they also a state? That is the question. And then also, if you claim, say, you get constitution, fine. Mo talk say you get a constitution. The constitution will be adopted in London and signed by the British for give you limited powers for do certain things, then limited, very limited. Okay. If they like you delegate some of your powers to some person, it no means that person, if I be president, I delegate my powers for international relationship to my Minister of External Relations. That it doesn't mean that Minister of External Relations become the head of state. No, it get limited powers of which you act on my behalf. I don't delegate my powers to you. Now, wait our Parliament for London, if we delegate some powers them to the people for British Southern Cameroon for manage certain affairs them on their own, but with the notion and with the understanding, say at any time the powers that be in London can take away that power, can dissolve your parliament, can disband everything, can even take you and attach you to a different country, like they will take and attach them to Nigeria. Without your consent, you have no say, because you are not a state. You cannot change, because they have the supreme power, the authority to do anything they want to do with that territory, as per the agreement in the trusteeship agreement. So it be either extremely dishonest or just stupid and ignorant for starting to talk about the so-called constitution of the British Southern Cameroons. And like I talked, the powers where the British they will get them for enact that constitution for Southern Cameroons comes from the trusteeship agreement. And the trusteeship agreement itself was terminated by the British exchange of notes with Cameroon, giving the sovereignty of that territory to President Ahmadou Ahidjo. So by that termination of the trusteeship agreement, Britain not get no other authority or no other powers over that territory. So that constitution itself becomes null and void. It put down for bin. It doesn't even make sense anymore for even refer to that nonsense from the 1st of October 1961. That nonsense makes no sense because they don't cancel the trusteeship agreement where it will give the power and authority for the British for giving that constitution. That constitution was given to you by the British because you were not a state. Where I don't know how to explain them again, my contributor. It'd be very simple. It'd be very simple, but now because of the dishonesty, where they don't make them now, these people they wrap themselves in like pretzels and they do mental gymnastics for try to lie about something. Will be very plain and simple. But again, now because they talk now to people the way they understand, say they be simpletons or they be poorly educated and people the way they know. And the problem as well where we get them now, say the people the way they go debate them, the other intellectuals the way they go debate these kind of charlatans, they know they come prepared with facts, with arguments the way it would be compelling. You need to challenge them. If I debate this kind of person, I ask you 2 or 3 questions. You yourself go start to stammer. You go start to go. You provide me constitution. I ask you just 1 question out of that. You know go fit answer. Okay, you provide 2 constitutions. Say that constitution for Cameroon this, that constitution for Southern Cameroon this. Fine, fantastic. Now tell me who authorized that constitution for become law. Your argument falls apart. The head of state for Republic of Cameroon authorized constitution for your own country. Why would our own head of state not be authorized our own constitution? Did you have a head of state? No, it's because you were not a state. It's as simple as that. It had to be done by a different country because that country be owned the sovereign power over your territory. It's as simple as that. The man they act like say no understand said a certain thing, a document, an international agreement existed called the trusteeship agreement. And how was that trusteeship agreement terminated? Simple. Exchange of notes. My contributor.
Hail, hail, hail the Kumkumasa. We the Cameroonians, we pledge our loyalty. Kumkumasa, Kumkumasa, you shall free our country from terror. And your blessing shall be like the stars above. The Most High God shall be your guide.